Thank you.
Yeah.
Ever since the land cruise last month and being in the hot seat, I've really been in the energy of satisfaction. And it's really taking things to a whole new level for me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
My question is about getting in the receiving mode and working with people and working with myself.
Hold just for one bit.
Sure.
Let's say that with a little bit more precision.
Okay.
Getting in the receiving mode of my choice. Because you're always in a receiving mode of something. You might be in the receiving mode of orneriness, or the receiving mode of overwhelmment, or the receiving mode of appreciation. You're always in the receiving mode. But getting in and maintaining chronically the vibration that hooks me up with source and vortex, that's the receiving mode that you're talking about. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Now, to me, what feels like the biggest challenge in terms of being in that receiving mode is this belief or feeling that I need to earn what I want. Right? So a lot of us, I think, a lot of people are in jobs they don't want to be in, right?
Well, if that's an important concept to you, and it works for a lot of people, you could say that by being in this receiving mode, you earn access to the most wonderful stuff. It's not altogether that different of a concept that I'll work hard and I'll go to school and I'll get a good degree and I'll put myself in a place and I'll present myself in a very positive way and I'll put in long hours and therefore I will earn a big wage. That's not so different as I will sleep often, I will get up, I will meditate, I will get into the receiving mode, I will tap into the energy that creates worlds, and I will allow. You could interchange allow and earn if you want to. It's just don't put any struggle in the earning.
Okay.
Because there are consequences to what you're offering vibrationally. And so earning is sort of like consequences to my behavior. And what we're talking about are consequences to your vibration. And so you do want to be deliberate about the way you think and deliberate about the way you feel.
Totally. Yeah. Because for me, I spend a lot of my summers on the beach. And, I spend half my day laying on the beach and half my day, working with clients to earn an income to purchase the things that I want. But I know that the law of attraction is powerful enough to let me lay on the beach all the time and allow the things that I want to show up.
All of that is good, and we like the experience that you've had. We think that there's a different thing that is sort of stuck in your vibrational craw, and it's this. And we can see why you are translating it into earning, but we think it is this instead, or as well as much more this. The common question in living in this physical world, where there are things to do and places to go and people to see, and the world of meditation and alignment, it's almost like the spiritual world versus the material world. And we're wanting you to understand, we know that you must from life, that it's all blended together. So the question is not so much about earning as it is about how much action do I offer? How much doing should be involved? How much lying on the beach as compared or opposed to doing? And so that's why we began talking to you about this vortex and everything that's queued up. It's why we're talking to you about get into the receiving mode where you can then receive an impulse to act. It's about timing. It's about right place, right time. It's about broader view, knowing where you stand in relationship to what you want. And the thing with so many people is that they're working so hard, putting in long hours with all sorts of patterns of resistance that they just can't manage to receive as much as they want because they are vibrationally working against their own best interest, where a lot of times those who are more chilled and not worrying about things, abundance is flowing into them in a stronger way. And then there's this battle among humans of that person is lazy by comparison and yet thriving. What's going on? Why are they thriving? And so there's this whole group of people who are railing against thrivers because they feel abused in their hard work. So what we want you to understand is that you want to act when you feel inspired to act. Act from your inspiration of joy, not from your inspiration that if I don't act, then bad things will come to me. It's that piece that you're wanting to bring into alignment for yourself.
Yeah, and you're making me realize that, when I'm not doing, there's often an energy of discomfort saying, that I should be doing things. And I know at a conscious level.
And so it doesn't matter if someone's pointing a finger at you and saying you should be doing more, or if you're pointing your own finger at you and say you should be doing it more, there's contention within you that is blocking the good from coming. Then that's what makes you try harder. But to try hard in the face of resistance only feels worse.
Absolutely, yeah.
Only feels worse.
Yeah, very
You
good.
following all of this? Yeah. Did you get to where you wanted to be on it?
Absolutely, yeah, that felt really good.
Make yourself comfortable and we'll
Okay.
come to you. Yeah. And we'll knock a few teeth out in the process.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, so this is my first time being here and really kind of experiencing this. So there was this one really kind of poignant thing that was being talked about earlier, which was the receiving mode, which was kind of like what you want, you get, on just that level. And I've really been able to hone in on it lately with my kind of like more tangible things in my life.
Yeah.
I'm a senior in high school. I'm going to an amazing college next year.
Yeah.
I have an amazing job lined up for the summer. I have a great group of friends, girlfriend, all that, It's tangibly on the surface, it's great. But
There's evidence, there's plenty of evidence,
of exactly,
alignment.
Exactly. But I don't feel it. Like I can't hone in on it. I'm trapped in this cycle of negativity where, I used to be a wrestler, and this is kind of a good analogy I use now, which is like at the end of practice, 2.5 hours in, one last sprint feels like you have to march 100 miles. And that's what it feels like to get out of bed in the mornings. I've made it work for myself, like on the exterior, but not on the interior.
Well, here's the thing. We want you to give yourself more credit because if there is evidence of well-being, then there must be a vibrational basis for it. As people move through time, as they get older, and as they have more exposure to more contrast, they settle into it and they receive it more. Receive isn't the right word. They acquiesce to it more. They tolerate it more. They put up with it more. Where when you are as you are, your personal demands for your alignment are just greater. Here's an example. One day, Esther was watching something, this was a few years ago, on television, and it was about a terrible thing that was happening in another part of the world. And as she watched it, she could hardly bear it. She had to sit down, it was so unsettling to her. And she wept about what she was witnessing. And then after she sort of came more back to being herself, she said to us, Abraham, if that feels that bad to me from this distance, what must it feel like to those people who are living it? And we said, you're feeling worse about it than they are, because it's about vibrational relativity. When you really, 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 really want something, and for even a moment in time you're focused in opposition to it, you feel the tug of war between you and your inner being. And so that's what you're describing to us. You are highly sensitive to your alignment or not. So in a moment when you're not in alignment, you're going to take it hard, because your connection, you have a very chronic connection to that fast-moving energy.
That's a really good way to put
And
it.
so if you're going 100 miles an hour and you hit a tree, it's a much bigger problem than if you're going 2 miles an hour when you hit a tree. So it's your sensitivity that you're describing here, not your state of alignment.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of add on to that, I'm kind of like a problem solver by nature. I constantly look for solutions, and it eats at me, which is like kind of there's no solution.
We want to give you something about that.
Yeah.
The reason that you are often one who comes up with a solution is because you are often one who's in that receiving mode. And then the solution just occurs to you. But when you're in the receiving mode of the problem, in other words, when you're actively engaged in the problem and you're looking for the solution, you can't find it because there's a big vibrational variance. The frequency of a problem and the frequency of a solution are very different frequencies. And so that's why when you take your attention away from it and you allow your vibration to raise, as it naturally does, then the solution occurs to you. We want to give this to you. This is the perfect time for a clear understanding of something. You're really going to like this. So you've been living life and putting a lot into your vortex, and your vortex is a sight to behold. in what feels like a relatively short life because of who you are coming in and the intensity with what you've lived. You've put a lot into your vortex. There's a lot there, and it has been gestating. Your inner being is on it. Source energy is on it. Law of attraction has gathered cooperative components. It is ripe and ready for you to begin plucking and receiving, as you know. That's what you were describing to us earlier. Mm-hmm. When you are not pushing against something and you've allowed your vibration to be where his is after he takes a nap, in other words, you're in that place of receiving. When you're in that place of receiving and an idea occurs to you, it just sort of comes. You weren't begging for it to come. You weren't demanding for it to come. You were just in a place where it could easily come, and it comes. That is what we are wanting you to feel as the receiving mode. Mm-hmm. You can't try your way there. You can't effort your way there. You have to allow yourself there. You have to appreciate yourself there. You have to nap yourself there. You have to non-resistance yourself there. And when you're there, then the idea comes. And so feel the difference between an idea coming like that and just struggling, trying to find the problem, weighing all the pros and the cons and the pluses and the minuses, talking to this one and talking to this one, going over and over and over and over it again in your mind, just holds you in that place of resistance. You know the difference, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I definitely do. I mean, also just I've had this like kind of recognition that it's almost bigger than me. It feels like at this point an anxiety disorder where I've addressed it. I know specifically what you're talking about. I totally get that. But understanding that is not enough. When I'm in this cycle of negativity and I'm feeling, just the lowness, it's like, I know I'm here. I know I shouldn't be here.
Well, we just want to say to you, you're never going to do well in negative emotion. Mm-hmm. Someone said to Esther not long ago, you don't function very well in negative emotion, do you? And Esther said, no, I freak out. I can't stand it. It isn't who I am. It isn't what I want. But much of the world can function rather well in negative emotion. They're used to it.
Yeah.
They've sort of accepted it, but you don't want to get used to it.
Yeah.
We're going to say again, because you brought it right back around to where it was. Alignment is what you must have in order to feel good. And when you don't feel good, don't beat up on yourself about it. Just say to yourself, this is guidance that lets me know. We've been talking recently, and it's an analogy that seems sort of trivial in comparison with what you're talking about. But you're going to hear it and it's going to help you. So when you're driving, you know how to stay in your lane. It's the easiest thing in the world, isn't it? And you don't try to occupy the same space as another car. You just have these things that you innately do. And if somebody in front of you slows down, you do too. And you move around. Of course, you might get into another lane, but you pay attention to what you're doing, and it's easy to do and it's easy to understand. So then, let's say, maybe you're not paying so much attention and you sort of drift onto the rumble strip on the side of the road. And you feel it. And when you feel it, you just correct. You don't condemn the fact that the rumble strip exists. You don't get out and try to dig it up for the next 50 miles so that you don't have to deal with it. You accept that the rumble strip is there and you just adjust yourself. You accept it as sort of helpful guidance. But if you were to not correct, now you've got all four wheels on the other side of the rumble strip, and now you're off in the grass and off in the ditch, but you're still doing your best to get yourself back where you want to be. But if you're really not paying attention, then you're across the rumble strip and in the ditch and in the mud and through the bridge and off the cliff. And the further you go, the more trouble it is to come back into your body. Getting a whole new body is time consuming. And those artificial limbs don't work very well. So in the same way that you are so wise that you don't let your car get out of control, you pay attention. In your moment that you're not in control, you do your best to get back into control. And that's what those early negative emotions are. They're your indicator. And so Esther's been saying to herself and out loud to friends if they are around, rumble strip, which means I'm aware. Now, I can keep talking about this, and I can turn the rumble strip into a dive off a cliff, but I don't want to do that, rumble strip. And so that's the only encouragement we have to you. Don't let the momentum carry it so far. And don't be mad at yourself for your sensitivity to alignment. When you are accustomed to alignment, you are accustomed to alignment. That's the way it is supposed to be.